Saw dudes, for a long time, I've wanted to make a stupid weapon build video. Today is that day. We're going to make the crit Phenmor great just because we can. As you're seeing on screen, crit Phenmor is easily capable of shredding enemies and is on par with non-crit Phenmor in terms of general performance. This is Warframe's minigun, so why not paint the walls red and numbers red? Let's get started. Before getting to the weapon build, we must cover the Incarnon evolutions on Phenmor. Evolution 1 just allows us to use the Incarnon mode of the weapon, so we're going to skip that. For Evolution 2, I chose to use Void's Guidance for a 50% accuracy and 50% recoil reduction bonus while aiming. This makes the gun kick much less in Incarnon form, however, it does not maximize DPS. For that, you will want to use Rapid Wraith for the extra 20% fire rate. This is ultimately up to preference. Evolution 3 only has one good choice, that being Retribution's Vessel, which provides a 50% bonus to mag capacity. Keep in mind that this only affects the base form of the weapon and does not provide bonus rounds to the Incarnon mode. The extra rounds in the base form make charging the Incarnon mode easier though. Moving on, Evolution 4 only has one option in the context of this build, Survivor's Edge. This upgrade grants the gun a flat bonus of 10% crit chance and status chance. Since we are actively trying to crit with this gun now, you definitely want any extra crit you can get. The status chance is a nice bonus since this gun also deals radiation damage in Incarnon form, allowing it to self-prime to a degree. And finally, we have Evolution 5, where we are using Lingering Judgment, which causes 2 headshots within 2 seconds to grant a plus 50% headshot damage bonus for 8 seconds. Headshots for most humanoid enemies is a 3 times multiplier. With the bonus, we are looking at a 4.5 times multiplier, which multiplies our insane crit damage. You may be tempted to use the other perk, Spiteful Judgment, but this heavily restricts our priming capabilities with secondaries. Also, the crit bonus is a flat additive bonus after mods, which doesn't raise our damage much. Now let's cover the main build for today, which is usable on all frames. Hunter Munitions is used to increase the chance of slash proc application on targets. Galvanize Aptitude grants us extra status chance and grants us base damage on each status proc applied to the target. This grants us the opportunity to prime enemies for more damage. Primary Acuity is the star of the show on this build. It grants plus 350% weak point damage and plus 350% weak point crit chance. However, using this mod locks the multi-shot for the weapon. That's alright though, since our outgoing damage is great. Primary Acuity on Phenmor is a special case, since it's one of the few weapons where it is a final multiplicative bonus to other mods. On the stat screen, we have a crit chance of 70%. However, when landing headshots, we have an effective crit chance of 315%, meaning we are guaranteed red crits with a 15% chance of getting tier 2 red crits. To take advantage of the high critical chance, we use Vital Sense. To raise our fire rate, we're using Vigilante Fervor, which can raise the critical tier of our critical hits. This can increase our outgoing damage by raising our effective critical multiplier of those buff hits. If you want even more fire rate, you can go for Speed Trigger or Primed Shred. Then we have Critical Delay to increase the base critical chance to 70%, providing us a good foundation for the multiplicative bonus from Primary Acuity. The following Bane mod increases upfront damage, but also double dips damage over time from Slash. The final mod, Rifle Elementalist, provides a 90% final multiplier to our status damage and grants 0.6 meter punch through for much easier mob clear. The next variant abandons the Bane mod in favor for Hammer Shot. This is for the lazy people, so it's basically just me. We get a slight bump in critical multiplier and status chance, which is nice for ease of use. The status bump is pretty nice, but doesn't do much in the grand scheme of things. We're really going after the critical multiplier since it can work well with our enhanced critical hits from frame synergies. Now we have the Frost-centric build, which is a slight modification. For reference, you will have to use Biting Frost since it provides a multiplicative bonus to crit chance and damage against frozen enemies. You can use the universal primary acuity build for Frost, but keep in mind that you will have to aim for heads the entire time, so the choice is up to you. This build is just easier to use in my opinion. Galvanized Chamber increases multi-shot, thus increasing our damage. The extra multi-shot makes charging the Incarnon meter much easier compared to the other builds. Galvanized Aptitude grants base damage and status chance. Critical Delay increases crit chance, and Vital Sense increases crit damage. We then have Vigilante Fervor for the fire rate and Vigilante Armaments for the multi-shot. Both mods are part of the same set, which increases the chance of crit chance enhancement. As I said earlier, Vigilante Fervor can be swapped out for Speed Trigger if you'd like. Hunter Munitions provides more reliable slash procs, and Rifle Elementalist increases slash proc damage while granting punch through. Besides Frost Prime, there are many other frames that I can recommend for use with this build. The other frames I have enjoyed using the most with this gun are Gauss, Harrow, Rhino, Saren, and Volt. First off, Frost Prime has access to Biting Frost, meaning that we do not need to use Primary Acuity. This means we are not restricted to headshots only to get consistent crits, though we will miss out on some of the red crit shenanigans. This is made up by the Armor Shred and easy crowd control. Plus, without Primary Acuity, we can now use Galvanized Chamber, which makes charging the Incarnon meter much faster since each bullet counts towards Incarnon progress. Gauss has amazing bonuses for weapons from Redline, which drastically increases fire rate, taking the Phenmor's mag dumping potential to new heights. Also, thermal transfer is available on Gauss, which can add even more damage to the gun through blast damage. Since Phenmor shoots so fast and has decent status chance, you can easily stack blast procs for easy single target and AoE damage. You also can't forget that Gauss can shred armor from enemies with thermal sunder, meaning upfront damage will drastically increase. Harrow is the crit king and makes almost every gun broken. Condemn, Harrow's first ability, crowd controls enemies, holding them in place and most importantly, leaving their heads easily exposed. This allows you to hit easy headshots and get easy red crits from primary acuity. Penance is a fire rate steroid that boosts the fire rate enough to counteract the inverse spool of the weapon. Of course, Harrow also comes with Covenant, which has two uses. One is to provide invulnerability while activating the Incarnon mode of Phenmor. Two is to crack out the crit stats even more. The flat added a 200% bonus on headshots can increase damage a ton. Rhino is a juggernaut which fits well with the style of gun Phenmor represents. Besides that, Rhino's roar massively increases damage over time from slash procs and upfront damage. If you're like me, you could also subsume Nourish Overcharge for another innate damage increase and free viral application. Saren is here purely because she can act as a gunboat. With the build shown, we can have 3 buffs going for her: Venom Dose for Corrosive, Toxic Lash for Toxin, and Roar for the damage over time bonus. All of these bonuses crack out Phenmor and make it shred even harder, though you probably won't notice a difference until level 5000 or so. This is catered more towards level cap. Finally, we got Amir Beckett or Volt. Volt is pretty great for crit weapons in general and provides a nice quality of life buff. First of all, his electric shield grants round shot through it, plus 50% electric damage, and plus 100% final critical multiplier. This critical multiplier is a final buff, so it's applied after mods, meaning it doubles our final crit multiplier, drastically increasing the effectiveness of upfront damage and damage over time. Volt also has speed, which acts as a reload steroid and affects the transformation time for Phenmor. Discharge, although it doesn't affect Phenmor directly, crowd controls enemies and allows for much easier headshots. So, why use crit Phenmor in the first place? There are a couple of reasons why. 1. Red, orange, and yellow numbers are much prettier, so why settle for boring white numbers? 2. On a more serious note, crits are much more reliable on this weapon and put out consistent damage against even more serious threats. For example, Devouring Attrition, the non-crit Incarnon evolution choice, does not work on Acolytes, meaning Phenmor is an unreliable Acolyte killer. 3. Since the introduction of Primary Acuity and Biting Frost, which are multiplicative on this weapon, crits are really reliable. At the very least, you are critting 100% of the time, therefore taking advantage of the 4.4 times crit multiplier at the very least. 4. With orange crits, you are getting an effective critical multiplier of 7.8 times. With basic red crits or tier 3 crits, you have an effective critical multiplier of 11.2 times. Finally, with a tier 4 crit or a red crit with 1 exclamation mark, you have an effective critical multiplier of 14.6 times. 5. This crit damage only scratches the surface of the build. You still have access to further arcanes on Warframes and even companions, which can equip Tenacious Bond for yet another critical multiplier bonus. As a final note, my personal opinion is that crit is king in level cap. Many of you may know this, but I test builds in level cap Void Cascade. In that mode, Acolytes are a major threat, and I want each of my weapons to be able to handle them with ease, just in case something happens. I know the non-crit build variant works, but since it can't kill them, it induces a lot of panic. I want a weapon that is well-rounded and can handle the rigors of such content without a hitch. With that being said, I realize this approach is very much against the grain. Since Phenmor is an established anti-crit weapon, this video is bound to make some waves. However, I invite you to try this build out and let me know what you think. I didn't want to overextend the video's runtime, so I'll leave it at that. I hope this video helped, and if you have any recommendations that I might have missed, or just have some ideas, please leave them in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, and happy farming. Stay safe.